The night at Red Jack's Roadhouse pulsed with noise and heat. The jukebox blared a half-broken rock anthem, drowning beneath the crash of pool balls and the roar of engines outside. Cigarette smoke hung in the air, curling in lazy spirals that made the ceiling fans look useless. The doors had swung open an hour ago and the bikers poured in, loud, leather-clad, carrying the smell of asphalt and gasoline with them. They filled the tables like they owned the place, their boots thudding on the wooden floor, laughter cutting sharp through the music. Behind the bar, glasses rattled as Maya wove between the crowd. A tray balanced on her hand with practiced grace. She wore her uniform shirt rolled at the sleeves, the fabric already damp from sweat and spilled beer, but her steps were steady, quick. Her dark hair was pulled back in a loose braid, a few strands sticking to her temple. She'd been working long enough to know how to ignore crude jokes and hungry eyes, how to paste on a smile that kept the peace even when her stomach twisted. But this group was different. They weren't just rowdy. They were testing her, watching her. The biggest of them, a man with a faded skull tattoo across his neck, slapped the table for another round, and Maya slid the drinks down like clockwork. She turned to go, already moving toward the next table, when a hand clamped around her wrist. "Hey," the biker drawled, his breath sour with whiskey. His grip was iron, knuckles scarred and heavy with rings. "Don't walk away from me, sweetheart." The men around him laughed, a rough chorus that drowned out the clinking bottles. Maya froze for only a second before pulling back sharply, twisting her arm free. She stood taller than her frame should have allowed, her face calm, but her eyes narrowed like sharpened steel. "Let go," she said flatly. The biker smirked, leaning back in his chair like he'd just been given a game to play. His buddies nudged each other, waiting to see how far he'd push. The jukebox wailed another verse, but the tension beneath it was sharp enough to cut glass. The biker's smirk stretched wider, the kind that made his friends chuckle low, feeding on the moment. He leaned forward, the chair legs scraping against the sticky wooden floor, and his hand shot out again, this time not for her wrist. His fingers hooked into the fabric of Maya's shirt near the shoulder. She tried to twist away, but he yanked hard, and the sound split the air, an ugly rip that seemed louder than the jukebox. The sleeve tore wide open, cotton threads dangling as her tray clattered onto a nearby table, spilling beer across the wood. The bar went silent in a heartbeat. Even the drunk who'd been shouting at the pool table froze mid-word. Every eye locked on her. The biker's grin faltered when he realized what he'd exposed. For a split second he expected to see bare skin, something to humiliate her further. But instead, catching the dim neon glow, a gleam of polished silver flashed beneath her shirt. It was no piece of jewelry, no trinket, a badge. Maya's chest rose and fell slowly as the room registered it. U.S. Marshal stamped into the metal, undeniable and cold. The sound of the jukebox needle scratching, off the record, filled the silence like static. The biker's hand, still clutching the torn fabric, trembled slightly. His friends' laughter died in their throats, choking into coughs and awkward silence. The entire bar hung in that breathless moment, no one daring to move, as if the badge itself had frozen them all in place. For a long second nobody breathed. The badge caught the dim red glow of the neon beer sign, and seemed to burn brighter than it had any right to. The silver edges gleamed against the torn fabric, a sharp reminder that Maya wasn't who she'd appeared to be. The biker who had torn her shirt stumbled back a half step, his bravado draining as fast as the whiskey in his glass. His mouth opened like he wanted to laugh it off, but the sound never came. His hand fell uselessly to his side, knuckles flexing, rings catching the light. All around the room, the other patrons shifted uneasily. Some of the bikers stared at the badge as though it might leap off her chest and strike them down where they sat. A woman at the bar whispered, "Holy hell," but no one else dared to make a sound. Even the bartender, who'd been polishing a glass with a rag, froze mid-motion, his hands suspended in the air. Maya didn't flinch under their stares. She stood rooted, her expression unreadable, her posture calm but coiled, like a spring that could snap without warning. The badge was no accident. It was meant to be seen, meant to send a message. She hadn't walked into this bar to serve drinks. She'd walked in to hunt. The silence thickened until it was unbearable. The leader of the biker crew, a broad man with braided hair and a jagged scar down his cheek, shifted in his seat. His eyes darted to his men, then back to Maya. He swallowed hard, the sound loud in the stillness. And in that instant, everyone in the room understood. This wasn't just a waitress anymore. This was law, and the trap had just been sprung.